last time on Asmiliath Adventures.
As the Golden Hearts finished their shopping and headed into Folk.
For more shopping.
For round 2 of shopping.
They headed into the city talking to Captain Plantia.
I think that was right.
After giving some scrupulous information to the captain as to who they were, they did find out some information to assist their efforts in getting to Lord Solomon. They were informed that the Opal Heart Hotel is a nice inn where you could rub shoulders with the upper class or head to where they deserve, to the Green Reed Inn, which is cheaper and full of the common folk. Valoran gives the various Golden Heart members their tasks. Thor comes down with a mysterious illness and spends most of the day in the cart. Jarek heads over to the Pigeon Keepers to find out information and is successful in obtaining an actual invitation to the 50th celebration of a battle that Lord Solomon is holding. Rolly uses his wiles as a dwarven connoisseur to procure some very shoddily crafted gifts and food for the people of Folk. Blah, blah, blah. As well as attempting to find someone who can resurrect the dear lost Adam. It sounds like the only one available, Soul Guide Wilfred, is unfortunately approximately a week away, and this does not work for the Golden Hearts. Adam is thus sent off with the companionship of Sparky to be buried back in Giles' kingdom. Thor, unfortunately, provides Jarek with some information that Jarek leaps upon, sending the possibly well-skilled Dover back to Thrice Tower to look into information regarding their old friend. As the day ends, some new garments are purchased for Thor, Jarek, and Rolly. Much merriment was had, and we pick up a little bit later.
Bravo, sir. Very well done. I am impressed.
I don't know how much of that I missed, but that's my notes.
That seemed about it as far as I have. The only thing is like what you actually purchased, and that Sierra left was one thing that you kind of glossed over, but besides that, sir, that was very good. We might employ you to do the synopsis every episode. But anyway, I
have a natural talent for bullshitting.
Never would have been able to tell. But anyway, it is July 30th, as the Golden Hearts are leaving Vilstein with the intended goal of Crow's Crest Manor, knowing that the party that they had heard about being held by Lord Solomon, being the 50th anniversary of the Battle of Cashin Canyon, is happening on the 10th. So giving you all, 11 days until that party is going on? There's 31 days in July? Sure, we'll go with that. But yes, as you were leaving Vilstein, traveling down the road, after collecting all the various goods that you had seeked in the city, Terry, who, let's put this to bed real quick. Is Terry allowed in the wagon at this point? Where is Terry's location?
Thor votes yes.
Valoran doesn't really care as long as he doesn't touch anything.
That's the main point.
Jarek, I guess you are the deciding vote.
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
He can sit up with me. I'm pretty sure the wagon's too full for him to sit in the back anyways.
Yes. So
I think the general thing is just don't run away with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll have that stipulation in place. Okay. Mm-hmm. So as you're moving down the road, Terry, who is, taking care of the Adams situation and led Sparky as well to escort the body of your fallen quartermaster back to Kraylin, sat beside you, Jarek, as you are moving down the road, turns over to you and begins to speak. in common as well, as we've mentioned previously that you were unaware that he had spoke, but now uses with you rather fluently. Jarek, I know that the past few days of the party have been a little bit emotional, I guess you could say, but there is the matter that retrieving the hammer from the mountains is why I am here, and we seem to be heading away from the mountains.
You know, Terry, given everything that has occurred, I'm gonna be honest with you, that's gonna go on the back burner for probably a couple weeks. But as your boss said, we have what, a month, 2 months? We have
2
time.
months, yes.
Yeah. So, let's survive what's gonna happen here, and then we'll worry about the hammer. Worst case scenario, we all die. He still gets his, payment in blood. Everyone's happy.
You really have a delightful outlook on your life, Jarek. It's been an absolute pleasure traveling with you.
Terry, you're here for one reason, and it wasn't by our choice.
Nor by mine.
Yeah, well, it's been very fortuitous, you could say, for us to have you along. Dripping with sarcasm. So I think you worry about your job, we'll worry about ours. Your boss gets the hammer, everyone's happy. We have a lot of travel ahead of us. You know what? How about this? I'll give it a chance to get in my better graces. I'll pull out some parchment in one hand and a quill in the other.
Mm-hmm.
I'll play you in a game of dots and boxes. Say, wager up 5 gold.
So he's wearing that little wooden, I guess, like sun sensitivity blind that Rolly constructed for him previous session. So it's somewhat hard to gather his expression since a lot of it is hidden behind that. But you can see like the thin line that's usually his mouth, like kind of curl ever so slightly into his smile, and he kind of like nods his head down towards you. Well, Jarek, I have no money, but I will certainly barter something else.
Okay. What can he ante up?
How about a bet that goes on our integrity or our bashfulness, shall we say?
You want to gamble with my integrity?
Well, it seems like you do that by yourself quite often, but what I am recommending is, if I win, you shall expose your rear to the world for about 10 minutes from the side of the wagon, and if you win, I shall expose mine.
Okay, well, if any local guardsmen catch you with your ass out, they'll probably drag you off in irons, but that's on you, bud.
I am rather proficient at dots and boxes, so I would not be too concerned about that.
Yeah, well, as you know, they often say my luck runs deep.
Yes, I've seen quite a lot of evidence of that.
Alright, and he'll...
Alright, so 3 rounds of intelligence checks opposed, correct? Alright, you ready, sir? Ooh. Okay. So as, the wagon is slowly moving forward, it's early in the day after you guys had acquired everything that you were waiting for and set off from the city. So, birds are chirping, the kind of dull nature sounds kind of filling the air around you as you both kind of focus in on this piece of paper, occasionally having to, divert your attention to make sure, the horses are still going forward and all that fun stuff. As you two kind of, retreat from the situation around you and focus in on the game, you are maybe mildly surprised that Terry's words were not so empty, and you two are going at it back and forth, the lines and the dots slowly filling the page, and after the first round, you find that you are basically dead even, and no one has any sort of advantage on the other. So, we'll go for round 2, I suppose. Okay.
I'm gonna burn a lucky die.
Mm-hmm. Okay. As you are attempting to learn his playstyle and adjust your own tactics to meet his own, you find that he's rather deft at this game, not knowing if this is something that he practiced or maybe he's just simply naturally rather proficient at it. But even calling upon your uncanny luck that seems to get you out of a few different jams here and there, you do find yourself slowly losing more and more territory as different placements of your moves facilitate a small lead on Terry's side. So this would be, I guess, the final roll, where you can either tie it up or fall behind. Ooh. Whoop,
I'm gonna burn another lucky die.
It's a good start to the day. Oh.
Oh. Okay.
So, as the game is continuing, and Terry is quickly making a sizable gap before the game is coming to an end and it's clear that he is in the lead, you see him kind of like gently put the quill down on the page, and he goes, "I'm growing rather tired of this, Jarek. Maybe we should resume this later."
I'd like to insight check him to see if he was cheating.
Okay. You have a pretty good gauge that what you are gaining from your insight is accurate. And as far as you can tell, there was nothing incredibly shady about it. There wasn't really any easy way for him to have cheated, due to the fact that it is a simple, like, almost tic-tac-toe back and forth game. So unless he somehow made, like, several lines in one move. Yeah, so.
God damn. So be it, Terry. I am occasionally a man of my word.
Jarek, I do not want to see you go through it if it will cause you frustration. It was simply something put out there to help lighten the mood.
No, it's fine. You know, I can, as long as I'm not going to get clapped in irons, I'll just pull my pants down. It's fine.
I will not be looking, but I appreciate that you followed through.
I'd like to double check and make sure that there are no other travelers that are guards-looking folks around.
Okay. How about everyone give me a quick perception check? Wow. Kicking it off with real high rollers today. So you guys have just left the Dwarven highways, traveling through that for a couple of days and kind of getting used to that movement or that speed. So coming back into the overworld, you find it a little bit strange when, you pass other people on the road or you see other people kind of lingering behind you, just generally traveling, going about their business. You have noticed that a single horse rider, after you had left the city of Vilstein, this has probably been about 3 or 4 hours after you've left, maybe about half the day's travel has gone by, has been slowly gaining on you. It had started, multiple miles back where he was just a small speck on the horizon. Now he's maybe 600, 500 feet back, where you can gain a little bit more details and specifics about the man kind of gaining on you. As far as, a quick glance around, that would be the really only individual on the road. The other ones, having passed on the other way, which have, found their way past you at this point. So that would be what you were surrounded with. It's hard to tell who he is, what he's wearing, things of that nature from the distance, but there is someone loosely behind you.
I think Jarek would typically sit on the left side of the driver's seat,
Okay.
which would put Terry on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And Jarek would make sure that the cart is traveling on the right side of the road. So he'd hand, here, Terry, help take the reins while I do this. Pass those over, and quickly drop his trousers, and make sure to moon towards the right side.
Okay. So you're mooning over Terry.
Essentially, yeah. He's getting... Jarek is not happy about his loss, so Terry's kind of getting the stink eye.
You just see Terry kind of turning his face enough so that the wooden blinders he wears blocks out any potential visual from your side, and he just continues making sure the wagon goes forward. But Thor and Valoran, as you are traveling down the road, normal scene kind of surrounding you, you would see Jarek kind of shift around in his seat, drop trow, and point his ass towards your dwarven companion.
So Valoran put his full regalia on to make the deposit at the bank and to leave Vilstein. So now he's riding on his dressed up, groomed steed in full colors at the time when Jarek has decided to show his ass. And so immediately upon noticing, he does a double take and sort of growls out, "Jarek, what the blazes? Stow that rotted pork before you catch a javelin!"
Valoran, I understand, but it is a matter of honor.
You're damned right! Stow your ass!
Terry, I'll give you 5 minutes here in a little while. Shift his pants back up.
Good gods.
Rolly is chuckling rather heartedly as you all continue to travel. But is there anything you all are doing during this time, or at this time?
I forgot that I was playing. Am I playing Rolly? Isn't that what I was doing? Right.
So if we run into combat, you'll be playing Rolly.
Oh,
Besides
okay.
that, I'm gonna have him, handing out things, doing the background Rolly stuff.
Gotcha. Because I forgot to roll him a perception check. So that was his perception.
Okay.
I'll keep an eye behind us at this other rider, just out of an abundance of caution. But mostly it's about whenever they encounter anyone else on the road, or if they pass through any kind of settlement, just projecting this appearance of nobility and grace and graciousness.
So the understanding for Rolly, as far as I'm aware, is passing through towns or people or children or, any sort of grouping of the common folk. His job is to disperse, food and toys and trinkets and things of that nature. Starting now, I'm assuming, or back when you began traveling?
Pretty much starting as soon as we leave Vilstein, but making sure to leave enough for when we actually get to Crowcrest.
Okay.
Because it's Salamon's people in particular that I want to benefit from our generosity, but
Gotcha.
Anybody that we encounter can get a loaf of bread or a cup of ale.
Okay. So,
Yep. On the note of the rider coming behind us, I think Jarek, after being admonished for his behavior, would think about it for a second and then pull out his lute to start playing idly.
mm-hmm.
And as soon as that guy gets about 30 feet away, he would try to discreetly cast Detect Thoughts.
Okay. He's a fair distance away at this point, and he is slowly gaining on you, but okay, good to know. So, Thor, are you doing anything during this time?
I would be riding to the, I guess probably the back right of Lord Valoran, because I am his bodyguard. And I would ask, Lord Valoran, am I supposed to call you that now?
Yes, Thor. Lord Valoran is back.
Okay. Lord Valoran, does that look like behind us? Does that look like anybody you recognize?
So I'll actually take a hard look this time instead of just glancing.
So, quick side note, by the way, in case either of you find this necessary. In folk, Valoran, I guess you would have the most knowledge about this. You would be referred to as Lord Athelvane as like the correct way of addressing you. Whether or not you want that to seep into the party or whatever, that's how any other nobility or place that you stop would address you. Lord Valoran kind of being the Giles kind of like slang way of addressing lords, where they use their first name instead of their house name. So, just a little tidbit in case you want to adjust that. But if you
he'll relay that to the group.
Okay.
That at least when they're around other people, if they could keep it to Lord Athelvane or your lordship or something prim and proper.
Solid. But yes, as you turn around and get a glance or a harder look at the individual growing closer, at this point, maybe getting to the 200 to 300 foot range, where you can start actually maybe picking out a few details here and there, you see, from your best guess, it appears to be a rather younger human male figure, like a light, kind of short blonde hair, dressed in a very, from this distance, a modest but appropriate kind of black coat with gold trim. He's obviously armed with like a sword kind of dangling at his side. His horse has, various bits of equipment and backpacks and like bedrolls kind of on it. He's wearing colors that you would obviously connect to being of some sort of house or important family in folk potentially. Very much appearing as some sort of nobility or functioning in that noble, I guess, grouping would be the rough term to use. But he's, sat very proper, very tall on his horse, one hand holding the reins as, he's slowly jostled back and forth, growing closer. Probably around this time, the wagons can stop for a moment as Rolly's going about dispensing some toys to some nearby children, allowing him to kind of gain more of a, gain closer, closing the distance, while you are stopped.
On that note, whenever we do stop to pass something out, I think Jarek would probably play at least a few lines calling out about the great Lord Athelvane and his many triumphs within the Giles Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps throw in a little bit of embellishments on, towns saved and beasts slaughtered.
Okay. You want to give me a performance check?
Gladly.
So is there any certain thing you guys are doing with this man approaching, letting him come, doing some warnings or glances or things of that nature?
I'll try to place the colors or the if he has any other markings. I should be pretty familiar with most of them in folk.
So give me a history check.
I am placing myself between Valoran and the road, I guess, if we're like pulled off of the road, or like whichever way he's passing.
Mm-hmm.
And also I'm trying to keep like a clear line in case, I have to throw something at him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so Jarek, as you are stopped, with the children kind of functioning unruly, he's handing out random toys and also having to remind himself not to be giving children ale, various Rolly style things. As you are kind of letting the man approach, getting closer and closer, Valorant you can start seeing the colors more distinctly as he gets closer to you all. You can't exactly place precisely where he's coming from or what family he might be attached to. The colors that aren't the kind of, dull black of his coat is like a brown and an orange, and there's a few different families that kind of roughly align with those colors. He does eventually get to the point where you see the sigil on his chest is of a brown background with a black stripe, and a orange chalice in the middle full of blood is roughly the symbol that you see. You've certainly seen that sigil before. You can't quite bring forth the information surrounding it as he is approaching, but he gets to roughly maybe the 100-foot to 60-foot mark. He's obviously making eye contact with the majority of you, and his path is very much set to approach you instead of going around the kind of small group parked at the side of the road.
Yeah, as soon as he's within 30 feet, I would go ahead and try to discreetly cast Detect Thoughts.
So I know that we've used this a couple times, and I need to get a bit more familiar with it. Can you toss that in the chat again real quick, just so I can do a quick glance?
The short version being that if I'm focusing on him, then I will get his surface thoughts. And then if I choose to, I can
focus in and get more
focus in, but if I do so, he will notice. So just the surface thoughts.
Okay.
He shouldn't notice that one.
Okay. So he would probably speak before getting to the 30-foot mark, but I'll go ahead and give you that anyway because it'll be happening as he's speaking. But as he does approach, the thought that first comes to mind is, finally. This kind of, I guess, relief might be the correct emotion to subscribe to it. But, yes, as the party is stopped, you see him again very, stood tall in the saddle, or sat tall in the saddle, I guess is the right term, approaches the group. You see him do a quick cursory glance of each of the party members, kind of letting his eyes linger on Thor for just a second before he locks eyes with you, Valorant, and he kind of, very politely nods his head, goes, "Greetings, Lord Athelvain. I have been searching for you for quite some time."
I will be very friendly and smile and sort of hold a hand up in greeting and say, "Indeed, well, you have found me. To what do I owe the pleasure?"
"I am Florent Lemoyne. I come on the behest of Count Barbet. He has seen that you two share a similar friend that needs to be dealt with, and I have been sent on his behalf to extend a hand of friendship."
All right, give me the download. Count Barbet.
Count Barbet. Barbet. What you would quickly be able to get about Count Barbet, kind of the common knowledge. He's a rather, I guess, lesser noble is the right term to use. He doesn't own a whole county or a duchy. He owns a singular castle/fort is roughly the kind of structure we're talking about. It is called the North Watch Castle. It's obviously far north in Folk. It is just a small step off the Pruitt Empire border, and you'd be aware of it, and kind of roughly the location of that. The gist of what you could gather from what he said is obviously the similar friend that you are both dealing with would be pointed toward Lord Solomon, knowing that his MO, Lord Solomon, that is accumulating different bits of information or land or power or influence and someone who is on the lower rungs of the noble ladder would certainly be a prime target for Lord Solomon. So that would be roughly kind of the general knowledge you would have.
Have I made Barbet's acquaintance personally, or just know of him?
I mean, that's one of those things where it kind of relies on how you see Valorant and how well socialized he would be. I would say there wouldn't be any outstanding reason that you would have physically met him. Or if you did, it would have been so quick in passing that it would be kind of unmemorable. So you'd probably just know of him and not know him.
Okay. I see. Well, Mr. Lemoyne?
Sir
Your
Lemoyne.
title, sir? Sir Lemoyne?
Yes.
If you would like, I can offer for you to refresh yourself with some rather common ale at our wagon. You can tell me what this is about.
Gladly, my lord. I appreciate that you are so welcoming. I fear that you might be a little bit on guard given your current situation.
Well, I'm home now, aren't I?
Indeed. I hope that you come to your actual home soon and have a gracious welcoming there, but I can assume that you are not heading back to your property currently.
I thought it best to see the upcoming festivities at Crowcrest for myself as soon as I returned to the country.
He kind of nods along, and you see him begin to dismount from his horse, listening to you as he moves to a few saddlebags on the side. He eventually pulls out a small leather pouch. You hear the familiar kind of jangling of coins as he glances in it real quick, ties it back up, and turns to you. He goes, "This is the gift that Count Barbet has given to me to pass on to you to solidify our future friendship." And then he walks up to you, kind of keeping an eye on Thor, who, as far as I'm aware, is kind of playing guard dog between the two.
I am very much keeping an eye on him.
But I'm
Yep.
assuming you'll let him hand something to Valoran?
Yeah, you'll see my hands tighten a little bit on my sword. Just a little bit.
Yeah, so he would just keep a kind of side glance on you as he approaches you, hands up the pouch, and if you look inside the contents, obviously you'd have to take some time to count it, but it's roughly about 500 gold pieces are in this sack.
So just looking inside, kind of weighing it in his hand, he doesn't spend a lot of time looking it over. Just sort of nods and kind of grips the bag closed, and also climbs down so he can join the guy on the ground. This is a substantial gift.
My liege is very interested in finding reliable allies in the Kingdom of Folk. He has found that rather difficult to achieve previously, and from what I know about you and your father, and what my lord has assessed, you seem like a very valuable ally to have, my lord.
I would like to believe so. Certainly, my intentions are, well, just. And my father's before me, but we're not exactly the toast of Queen's Coast, are we?
You see him kind of holding back a bit more of a knowing smile, keeping the mask or the air of seriousness kind of at the forefront. I don't suppose it will be invited to any gatherings at the palace, but I think the goal is to change that particular problem.
I don't mind admitting, I am quite intrigued. wish that I could speak with your Lord Barbet in person.
Well, allow me to be a bit more forward, and if I do step out of line, please do tell me if I do so. But it is my liege's hope that I can attach myself to you, help see certain tasks that you may be working upon completed, and then once we have settled some matters that are more pressing than others, I would very much like to escort you back to my count so that we can seal this friendship that we are building.
Can I, get a general insight on, how I feel about this man? Do I trust him?
I was gonna ask the same thing.
Yeah.
As the bodyguard.
Okay, how about we do a round of insight checks then?
All right, triple team. It's pretty good for me.
God damn. Okay. So I guess. Okay, so James, or Valorant, with you specifically, it might just be that you have been removed from folk society for some time and you're used to the different cultures that you've kind of moved through, that meeting somebody who is so put together and straightforward and approachable kind of puts you on guard just a little bit, whether or not that is your own personal feelings or something that is coming off of him. It just makes you kind of pause for a moment and reflect on either the adventure you've been on to this point and the new perspective that you have, or that maybe you are, I don't know, welcoming him too quickly. But that's roughly kind of what you're gathering. There isn't any massive alarm bells going off in your head. There isn't some singular crack or something that you're latching onto. Just a general air of this is distinctly different from what you're used to for your most recent travels. Jarek, as you are kind of removed from the conversation, being allowed to stare him up and down a bit more thoroughly, as, he's not watching you at this point. Again, based off of Jarek's usual interactions and general demeanor, it very well could just be dealing with someone a bit more, I'm using the same words over and over again, but of higher class than the general people that you've been interacting with thus far, that kind of gives you that immediate sensation of this is wrong, this is weird, something's up, something's fishy. But there isn't, again, anything glaring that grabs your attention or points you in that direction. Just kind of listening to him and Valorant go back and forth.
I get a little bit of an uneasy feeling from him, is what I'm getting from.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the best general synopsis to take from that.
Okay. As they are talking, and we would be relatively close at this point, I think Jarek would have gotten the ale, walked over, and presented a mug of it to him. Good sir, a gift of Lord Athelvane.
Kind of looks at Valorant, looks over at you, kind of waiting a second before reaching out and grabbing the cup from you. Thank you.
And then,
sir, I don't know your name.
I am a traveling troubadour, Jarek Dissel, in the service of my Lord Athelvane. My lord, if I may perhaps play a short song for him, regaling him of your exploits, and covertly give Valorn a light wink.
Of course. It's actually quite refreshing. You'd be surprised. Good for the spirits.
And as Jarek starts to strum a little bit, I'd like to cast suggestion on him.
Okay.
And to begin with, he has to make a DC 14 wisdom save.
Oop. Okay. I'm imagining you need to know whether or not he succeeds or fails.
That'd be nice. But the words that Jarek would use is, "You should regard us with the deepest of friendship and speak to us only the unadulterated truth."
So, if he does succeed, what is the...
It does not state whether or not he knows I cast it. So I don't believe he would know.
I'm pretty sure with like all spells that target something, they know that something happened. They don't necessarily know what, but they know something. Like if they succeed, it's like, whoa, something just tried to come at me.
Yeah, it doesn't state, but my...
'Cause there are spells that say if they succeed, they know you attempted it.
James, do you have a weigh in on this? I'm curious.
Well, if it were me, like it's a verbal and a material component, casting a spell, especially with the material component, like he's using his lute for his material component as a bard, but this is obviously not a folk song, right?
Yeah.
Like if it fails, the words of this song are incredibly specific and strange.
Gotcha. Yeah. How about we'll do this? We'll meet a little middle ground. Give me a deception check. I'll have him roll insight against you to see if he can acknowledge what it is.
I'm gonna burn a lucky die on that one.
Okay.
Oh god.
Oh, okay.
Was that worse?
No.
No, yeah. Not okay.
So, as you begin going through this, you see him lifting the cup to his mouth. Before he goes to take a drink, you see his eyes kind of narrow on you slightly, and then he turns his face over to Valoran and kind of gives a sly smirk, might be the best way to describe it. He goes, "Lord Athelbane, I thought we were going to be friends."
Derek plays songs for all our friends.
He turns back over to you, Jarek. "I fear that your words are a bit more venomous than you let on, good sir. I would appreciate it if you would stop trying to dictate my actions."
No offense intended. We head into most treacherous ground. One can never be too careful when my lord's life is on the line.
You see him, like, handing you back the cup, not having taken a drink from it, and goes, "Well, hopefully we can move past this small friction, because I bear none of you any ill will, even your monstrous companion," kind of gesturing to Thor.
Thor just stands there and stares at him. Also, Carl is doing the...
So after handing the cup back to Jarek, he would turn the attention back to Valoran, kind of giving him almost like a shrug, more or less. "If you want me to leave, I can gladly take my liege's gift and be on my way."
I'm sure I don't know what you mean. Please join us on the road to Crow's Crest.
"It would bring me great delight to see my liege's task done, so if we could steer clear of any sort of interactions around this particular topic, I would appreciate that. I simply want to see our houses work together for a more fruitful future."
Do I believe him?
You guys gonna incite every word of this man.
A random guy approaches with 500 gold, you bet I am.
I have this snake oil that we have been procuring. But, going off of your general insight check earlier, Thor, you're on guard already, being the guard dog, basically. So you are also kind of like, what's this dude's deal? Again, I'm trying to word this correctly. There isn't anything obvious or blatant that he's doing to you all that makes you believe that some ill intention is being hidden from you. It's more or less just the mission you're on, the place that you're in, the encounters you've had, just gives you a general uneasiness of being approached. Not that there is any sort of confirmation that he is doing anything aggressive towards you all or deceitful towards you all.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was just, making sure.
Okay.
But I guess he would then nod his head to you, Valoran. My lord, I will ride my own mount, and I shall follow loosely behind you. I do not want to push myself into any particular social circle that I am not welcome, but feel free to call upon me or ask for me if need be, and I shall be at your disposal until we head up north to see your new companion and friend.
As you will, Sir Lemoyne. I certainly hope to make new friends. For now, we'll enjoy the festivities.
Well, if there's anything that you need when we get to Crow's Crest that I can potentially see done, simply let me know.
Thank you.
Of course. And he turns to move back towards his horse.
When he's made some distance, I'll just hold up the bag that he gave me and kind of wave it back and forth at Jarek, and then
and he'll reach into his, under his arm into the backpack, pull out the thing, and give it a quick scope out.
Okay. As you get the bag in your vision through the scope, it does not give off any sort of magical aura. It appears just to be a bag full of gold.
Then be like, oh, open it, please. So I can see if the gold itself.
Yes, as you are allowed to see inside, there is no magical aura to set off your alarm bells, sir.
My God. My lord, would you care for that to be stowed with the rest of our accoutrements?
I suppose we're not spending any of this yet.
Certainly not, my lord.
And Valoran will hand it over.
So as Florent had, I guess, promised, as far as you guys are concerned, when you travel or when you move out from this stop, he's going to roughly hang around 60 feet behind you all, distinctly separate from the group, definitely out of earshot of any sort of normal conversation, and he's just going to kind of trail behind you more or less as you continue your adventure forward.
I assume we'll have to camp once or twice on the way there. I'm not exactly sure what the distance is here.
It is a 7 days journey to Crow Crest Manor. So you are on day 1 of that journey.
Damn. Okay. Well, throughout the 7 days while we're on the road, I want to keep a lookout for choke points, bridges, places that are densely wooded, just places where the road gets maybe a little more sketchy.
Okay. I don't know if you necessarily need to do any sort of checks for this. This is kind of just a general, I guess, gathering of passive information as you travel. The road that you are currently traveling on connects Vilstein and the Queen's Coast, which is kind of the two biggest cities of And so it's a very main, well-traveled road. It's cobbled in most places. The upkeep of it is fairly good for the majority of the distance that you are on. There's some dense woodland maybe on either side as you move through kind of the dead man's land between the two cities. Nothing that would, I guess, stand out to you as any sort of major choke point. There aren't any streams or rivers that you're crossing, so there's no bridges to be used. Potentially there's a few spots of where there's more cover along the side of the roads than anywhere else, which would potentially be some sort of ambush point if need be. But it almost appears that because the road is so well traveled and so used for goods and royalty and nobles and things of that nature, that spots that could serve as an ambushing point have almost been removed or dealt with or, shifted so that they aren't a place that bandits may lurk and have some sort of upper hand. So, does that answer your question? Give you a rough idea?
I think so.
Okay. So
I'm also just one, I mentally told Carl to just sit on my shoulder and look behind at the guy at all times and just let me know if he does anything weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also surveying the surroundings, making sure that we don't see anything too fishy.
Give me a general perception check.
You got it, dude.
Jarek, are you doing anything, sir?
Yeah.
Each night on this journey, I'll probably be doing a sending spell to Dover.
Okay.
Just asking him, how his journey is going.
Okay. So we will get to that because we haven't quite hit the first day yet, but I'll keep that in mind.
That's all I can think of.
So as you guys continue traveling through your first day of travel, kind of reaching the tail end of your stint, it reaching maybe early afternoon or early evening is probably the best way to say it. As you're kind of winding down, looking for a place to pull off the road and camp and set up for the night, Thor, as you are keeping a vigilant eye around you, making sure that nothing can harm your companion and there is no, dread or terror or harm lurking around any particular tree. You're just kind of riding forward on your horse, and randomly as you're, keeping an eye out, looking around, about 40 or 50 feet in front of you, just off the side of the road, kind of protruding from a small shrub, is a very familiar brown-furred bear that you had not seen in some time. Its eyes locked on you as its head kind of tilted ever so slightly. The rest of the party not having, seen it yet at this point, just kind of gives you a small little head nod of its massive head.
Lord Athelvane, be advised, there is a Buffy ahead.
What? Oh, that thing. Yes, it's quite all right.
Keep an eye out, Carl. If that man tries to kill Buffy, we kill him.
So, as Buffy is made more revealed as you move forward, you do see the man trailing behind you, kind of reaching for the sword at his hip, but as he's watching you approach the bear with this kind of nonchalance, his hand kind of slowly moves away from it, very unsure of what situation he is upon. Terry, who is on the wagon at this point, traveling beside Jarek, having not interacted with this behemoth yet, kind of tucks beside you, Jarek, almost kind of leaning into your side as his head is turned at an odd angle so that his visor isn't blocking out Buffy, and you hear him whispering to you, Is that normal? What the fuck is that?
You have to make sure you don't smell tasty, and he'll just kind of rip one onto Terry.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go, Terry. Kind of hide his hand behind his mouth and give a cough chuckle, and then call out to Thor. Thor, Dude,
Yes, JD.
you know, I can try dispelling Buffy if you want.
What? What do you think that would do to Buffy?
Well, I mean, it'll remove potentially any magic on him.
What if that just makes Buffy a bear and then he hates us?
Well, I mean, alternatively, maybe it's if he's been turned into a bear, it'll turn him back into whatever he's not.
Buffy, we've already established that JD, we've already established that Buffy is not my dad. Buffy literally told me that he wasn't my dad.
No, well, I mean, the option's there if you want it.
Lord Athelvane, permission to dismount and greet my companion.
Yeah, yes, Thor, carry on.
Buffy! Okay.
So, as you dismount, Buffy steps out of the kind of shrubbery, making sure that there are, no other prying eyes around. As far as you are aware, he would be capable of realizing there's someone behind you, so for whatever reason, he is giving the okay to this man as far as seeing Buffy at this point. But as Buffy steps from the shrubbery, kind of revealing the majority of his size, you've gotten very familiar with this bear as you traveled around with him and spent a couple very long nights attempting to gain some sort of connection with him. You see that there are new scars on his body. There's like a long scab gash on his shoulder that is currently healing. His right ear that had already kind of been torn is now almost kind of split into two as some big slice kind of been taken out of the middle of it. But he seems very, almost dopey joyful at your presence and kind of bounds over to you as you approach him.
Oh my gosh, Buffy, are you okay? What happened to you? Who hurt you?
He just kind of plows his weight into you and then just kind of lowers his head and then just kind of more or less stays there, just kind of leaning against you, kind of taking the moment.
Yeah. People suck. If you can never talk to me, we'll figure out who did this and we will kill them. I'll hold a horse. Well, I don't know how a horse would react to a bear. But...
Well, so this horse has been around Buffy before, because Buffy was traveling with you guys for, a fair bit.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking about. So I'll just hold the horse, walk beside Buffy, and just kind of scratch Buffy. Wow. And, chat him up, let him know what we've been doing, fill him in on all the details.
Okay. So, as you take up your new position, Florent would move from his trailing position, kind of joining the group ever so slightly, still kind of hesitantly hanging back about 20 feet or so, as he calls out, "My lord, is this a pet?"
So, sort of taking up the rear at this point, letting them have their moment, from the back of the group. Pet? No, nothing as domestic as that. I would advise you to keep your distance, but certainly an affectionate acquaintance of my guard here.
I have to say, it's not the weirdest thing that I've come across, but just wanted to make sure there was no danger, I guess.
Oh, there's danger all around us, but I'm not particularly concerned about the bear.
Simple enough. I'm sorry for intruding. I shall take up my position.
They'll be at whatever that is for at least a few moments. Why don't you join me?
Yeah, so he would ride up a bit closer, kind of going side by side with you. Again, as you get closer to him and have a bit more of a direct interaction, He just seems like a very well-kept younger man. The cloak that he kind of has over his coat is lined with fur on the inside. It's clear that, not at a tremendous amount of wealth, but a decent amount of money has gone into, keeping him proper and respectable. And he very much kind of radiates that energy as he strides up next to you and kind of waits for you to lead the conversation, more or less.
I'm kind of hoping to take advantage of this, while he's half paying attention to the bear.
Mm-hmm.
Just to ask him, so tell me, I've actually been away from home for some time recently. What news is there of the goings on in high society lately?
Well, my lord, I will not kick around the bush. Your family is of frequent discussion, having the leader of your house flee the countryside, and the ladies of your house being shifted around, I guess might be the most polite way of stating current events. There have been less than desirable bets placed on how this friction between you and Lord Solomon will pan out. That has been a small game amongst the elite, I guess you could say.
You're saying I've fled now, is it?
I am only repeating the terms and tales being told about you from my betters. I certainly have no opinion of what you've been doing, since I am very ill-informed in that matter, but I would love to hear your side of the tale and see exactly what has been going on.
Have no fear. Of course, I don't hold you responsible. I suppose I should be flattered, in fact, to be the topic of discussion at all here at home.
That certainly is the silver lining, I guess you can pull from it, and I'm happy to see you acknowledging that, at the very least.
Oh, well, we do love to talk in the nobility, don't we?
Yes, though my job requires a bit more listening and less talking. It's not often that people of your class engage me in conversation.
All the better in the service of your lord, I am quite certain. I suppose he will not be attending the celebration from the sound of things.
No, my lord is currently dealing with a physical infliction that binds him to his castle. But he is being very well looked after, so there's no fear there, just waiting for him to heal.
He's been injured.
Yes, he took a tumble down a very long flight of stairs in the middle of the night. I'm sure he would not like me to share the particulars with you, but that is currently what he is healing from.
Very sorry to hear it.
But I imagine that he would much rather be here in person, if that makes you feel a bit more warm towards him.
Just making conversation.
Again, feel free to tell me if I'm being a bit more forward than I should be. May I ask what your intentions are after we deal with Lord Solomon and his greed?
I think nothing of it. I've gotten used to rather different standards since having to travel in Giles. For the time being, I just hope to enjoy the party. Once we depart Crowcrest, well, there's quite a lot of demands on our on our time and our skills, but I would like nothing better than to really settle some affairs here in Folk.
Well, hopefully this will help shine some light on the potential apprehension that your group has with me, or that you may have with me as yourself. My lord has tasked me with gathering information as your standing, both politically and economically, and I will not hide that fact. So it would benefit my task greatly if we could stop by your home so that I may see your standing. From what I hear, it's not going to be a grand welcoming, but making sure that my lord gets the information he desires is something that I want to see, and that is something that I'm after, and I'll try and be as upfront as I can with you about that.
Circumstances were different, I would find that a rather unpleasant line of discussion, but things being as they are, I appreciate the forthright attitude, even though I know it's not folkish tradition.
I don't think it is particularly difficult to point out that the situation we find ourselves in isn't exactly a norm with folkish nobles.
Should say not. Well, I can't promise when I will return home. It would be nice to see it sooner rather than later, but we can't always control these things. But if you speak the truth, stay close.
I merely ask that I'm allowed to tag along until we find our direction or our course leading there.
Well, you seem to be a smart chap. I'm sure you know where the boundaries are.
Well, if I am devoid of sense at any point, feel free to inform me of the boundaries.
Someone from the group will.
I have been curious. May I ask about your muscle, I guess I can call him? I haven't gotten his name yet.
My trusted man, Thor. A rather capable guard, among other things. What is there to know?
It is not every day that you see a nobleman aligned with a particular class of individual. And I will not pretend to be a stranger to the certain stance your family likes to hold as far as the lesser beings of this realm are concerned. So, I simply wanted to see...
He... In a contest of strength or arms, he would not be the lesser of anyone in folk, I imagine. Which makes him perfectly suited for the task I've assigned him with.
Very well put, my lord. I simply was satisfying my curiosity.
He'll be raising eyebrows for days to come, I know. But he is loyal to me.
And then the colorful bard. He seems rather shifty.
Well, as far as a man of folk would consider, the only difference is that you can tell.
Perhaps we can teach him some,
Subtlety?
General covert subtlety, yes. Yes.
It's a work in progress.
Well, perhaps he can practice on me.
He did.
Well, perhaps he can practice better.
Feel free to give him any notes.
I will certainly keep that in mind. And then, the two dwarven companions, are they, brothers or companions or?
Neither. Countrymen only. One is our chaplain, and the other is, well, something of a tag-along. Not that different from you, I suppose.
Oh, well then perhaps I should, make his acquaintance so that we can discuss our similar relationship.
If you like, if you find him cordial.
Well, is there anything more that you needed from me, Lord Athelbane?
No, it's good to pass the time.
If it's not too much to ask, do you mind that I set up my tent within your camp for the evening, or shall I set up away from yours?
Be my guest, Sir Lemoyne.
I appreciate it. It's, been rather strange traveling alone for this long. I'm not accustomed to it.
You've made several references to being on the road for a long time.
Indeed, it's been a rather meandering path to find you. I almost caught up with you in Giles, and then I heard that you had gone through the highways, so knowing I was not fit for that particular route, I made my way over the Surbats, and that was a harrowing experience.
Interesting. I had thought that you were looking for me in folk only. I didn't realize.
Though my lord is not the most influential individual, he does have certain lines of information at his disposal. Lines that could benefit you if we cement this friendship.
I'll bear that in mind. You'll have to remind me, I'm afraid. Quite an embarrassment for myself. Where exactly is Northwatch?
Are you asking kind of like as a out-of-game sense, or
No.
him directly? Okay. Oh, well, I guess I do not hold it against you, as you have been troubled with much more pressing matters than the geography of folk, but it is far north, just near the border of the Pruitt Empire. It's, I don't know, maybe about, if we leave from here, 2 weeks travel, week and a half potentially with haste.
And so out of character, like if we basing that on the knowledge Valorant may already have, like would that put it kind of in the midway of the border, west, east?
So right now you're like approaching the crossroad beneath Corset, that kind of in the crossroad of all those main roads.
Right.
So if you basically follow that main road all the way north, kind of almost near the end of Folk, near the coastline up there, very far north, that would be the region that you're talking about.
Okay. Oh,
So,
I just
and-
saw ping. All right, yeah.
And then what he's saying would roughly check out with what you know about it.
All right. I think that's all I've got.
At this point, what time of day is it? Are we
It's
getting
reaching
into the
evening
night?
right now.
Okay. I think Jarek, leaving Thorn and Buffy to do their thing, would approach the two, Valorant and Lemoyne, and my lord, sir, sorry to interrupt. My lord, would you care to camp here for the night?
Good spot as any. We'll let Thor and Buffy catch up as much as they wish.
Would you care for me to put in appropriate guard for our camp?
Certainly.
I shall cast shortly then. And I would like to cast Plant Growth.
Okay.
Affecting only a nice ring around the camp.
Okay.
So essentially, let's say maybe 30-foot radius of empty space for us to camp in,
Mhm.
and then like a 10-foot thick ring around it
Okay.
of overgrown plants not obstructing the road, so that anything that has to cross through it is expending 20 feet for every 5 feet it travels.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is certainly easy enough to do. As far as, actually waiting for the camp to be set up and then casting it. I guess the only thing I would check is, Thor, are you staying in the camp, staying outside the camp to do things with Buffy, or what's the plan there?
Yeah, so I would, one point of order is whenever the other knight is within earshot, I only speak Dwarvish. So he doesn't know what I'm saying.
You're talking about Florent?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then like if JD asks me a question or something, I'll answer him just like subtly.
Okay.
And then as far as Buffy, yeah, I mean I would try to I may ask if JD can carve a path at least so I can get out, or I'll carve it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Just basically be like, what is up with all this fucking grass? And I would at some point like to try to connect, see what's going on.
Okay. So go ahead,
See
give
if I
me a wisdom check, sir.
Yup. Can't roll below a 10, baby.
Yep, I believe in you, sir.
Where's wisdom? Oh, right. That's at the top, right? Okay.
Roll again, sir.
Again.
Okay.
Hey.
Okay. And then, as far as the rest of the camp, is anyone doing anything during this evening? As everyone's kind of settling in, for your information, Florent has a whole tent system that he pulls from his horse, setting that all up. It's a very, classy way of traveling, but he sets that up and kind of gets his horse, tucked away to graze and all that fun stuff as he is setting in for the evening.
I think Jarek would try to play the part as best as possible and go about setting up Valoran's tent as a way to also try and hold a hushed conversation with him as he's going about the various pole setting and tent draping duties.
With Florent or Valoran?
Valoran.
Okay.
My lord, I still have the paper. I was wondering if I should go ahead and make the modifications as necessary with our expected arrival.
Probably a good thing to have in our back pocket.
Any moniker I should be utilizing, or shall we play this straight-laced?
I think it's best the more general it appears.
Then Lord Athelvane shall be sufficient.
Wait, what are you writing?
Well, I need to remove the lady's name from this and add yours.
Oh, I thought you were talking about something else.
Oh, my apologies. I'm still not quite at
Jarek, I don't
subtlety.
I don't need the invitation. He's very much expecting me.
Oh. Then should we make it out to me? I'm an elected official. I could pretend has caught his eye, at least to the doorman, to get me in.
Why not? That could expand your access. Do it.
Excellent. Yes.
Okay.
And after setting up the tent, can I use prestidigitation to remove the ink of what's her face's name? Lady
Belize.
Belize. Remove her name out of the paper?
I'm gonna go with no, because it's like permanently dried into the paper. It's not like mud, if that makes sense.
True, yeah. To see if there's a way to forge my own name into that then.
Or you want to try and copy the entire thing?
Yeah, actually, that's probably a smarter idea.
There is there's like a wax sigil on it. Like the broken, like half wax sigil. But if you play a little bit of Catch Me If You Can, you could transfer that to the copied letter if need be.
Okay, yeah, I'm willing to try that out.
Okay. Let's do a sleight of hand. I think that's fitting.
I'll wait on the wax sigil for another day, but just
Okay.
copying the letter, I'll try that right now.
Okay. Do you have any sort of magical ability that makes that possible, or are you physically transferring it?
Physically.
Okay. Let's do a deception. We'll go with advantage because you've been practicing this.
And Rolly will bless you, because Rolly is always right behind.
I don't know the. Oh,
Say
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Doesn't even matter.
Okay. Alright.
Oh, this
so,
good thing.
as you were doing that, we will hop over to Thor. Thor, as you have been reunited with your lost companion, you do, again, as you get a more, closer look, a longer time to interact with him, you do see various, nicks and scars and scrapes. It's clear that from the last time you had seen him to now, he has run into some vicious creatures or situations, but he has found himself here, so however that ended. But as you know that there is a depth to this beast, this animal, this companion of yours that you've not yet reached, you haven't tapped into, you attempt again to reach out and find a connection, some sort of string or thread to kind of chase down and gain more information or insight with. Going off of the assumptions that you have, the information that you kind of cobbled together with Jarek and his little identification spell, you spend, a few hours, I'll say, at the tail end of the day as evening kind of turns into night, watching Buffy kind of, shuffle around the shrubbery, eating some grubs, moving logs around, doing his normal bestial instincts, more or less. But eventually, as you kind of visualize the drawing that Jarek had drawn up when you had seen the sight of this old warrior that is theorized to be connected to you in some way, or at least connected to Buffy, certainly. As you try and visualize that, it's kind of a strange experience to explain. Where you would normally, if you're picturing a butterfly, you know what that looks like. You know the pieces and the parts and the colors, and your mind constructs it. With this, you have this vague outline of what you think you're trying to describe, what you think your mind is attempting to form in some sort of visual expression. And as gaps are met in your knowledge, where you don't quite know what the face looks like, or how tall the individual is, or, what he's wearing, it feels as if all this information is being fed to you by some other source, by some other entity or spiritual knowledge that begins to piece together the blanks, creating a fuller image for you as you kind of focus in on it. It's still not a complete picture after the few hours of you kind of focusing in on it, but eventually you get a slightly more clear picture of the man that has been discussed, connected to Buffy, that Jarek had seen standing by your mother in this kind of spectral, ethereal form before you had entered the highways. So that would be kind of what you achieve with your time away from the camp.
Also, do I get the sense, if I asked Buffy if what would happen if JD did dispel magic on him, what would happen? Do I get a feeling from him or anything like that?
So you're asking that directly?
Yeah.
Okay. You would see Buffy look up from his foraging, I guess, his eyes kind of meeting with you, and you just see the slightest and then he goes back to foraging.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. Bad idea.
So, is there anything else you were doing with the Buffy interaction, sir?
No, not really. After that all happened, I would kind of come back into camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Buffy following me, I would approach Lord Athelbane. And, of course, in Dwarvish, I would say, Buffy and I can take the first watch if you would like us to, Lord Athelbane.
That's fine. Very good.
Come on, Buffy. We will take the first watch.
James, you might want to move your mic. You're kind of leaning past it. There you go. So, as you settle in for your first watch, Thor, and Jarek, you are working on copying over the letter very deftly, kind of getting in the Rain Man zone almost, as you are transferring these letters almost picture perfect from one to the other. As you're focused in on this, Florin, after finishing setting up his camp and seeing, Thor interacting with Lord Athelbane, and then departing to, I guess, keep watch with his bear, he finds you being kind of the only approachable one at this point, and he comes and kind of sits down beside you, glancing over the work that you're doing. It's like, well, Sir Bard, it seems that you are preparing for some deception in our future.
My good sir, I assure you, your friendship is greatly desired. I do worry, though. You seem to want to know a lot of our business.
You see him kind of pause for a moment and see that, Valorant, are you paying attention to this conversation?
Not maybe casually, but not really.
Okay. As he kind of glanced over to make sure that you're not eavesdropping, more or less, he kind of huddles closer to you, Jarek, as his voice kind of gets a little bit more hushed, and you distinctly hear a shift in his demeanor. I don't want you to have the wrong opinion of me. You seem rather, colorful, both in outfit and personality. I simply just want to make sure that the friendship that I'm supposed to be procuring is seen through, and being rather agreeable is something that I'm good at.
So long as our intentions can align, then friendship all around. The safety of my lord is paramount.
So I've been, I guess you could say, very loosely given the job of critiquing your deception skills, my sir. And I would put forth that the way that you address Lord Athelvane is a little bit clunky at best. So I imagine that you haven't served him for long, or that you don't serve him at all, if I am correct in that assumption.
We ride under his colors. So long as that is true, then I am his to command. Though I must admit, I am more used to being the one giving commands, but for the time being, I can play this part.
Have you signed the letter that you're forging yet?
No, I think I'm waiting on the particulars until there's more light.
Okay.
But the general gist of everything.
Okay. Well, he kind of like glances over your work again. He goes, well, I have offered my services to Lord Athelvane, and I will do the same to you, sir. It would be nice to know your name at some point, since greetings apparently are lost upon you. But I think that we're all after the same thing here, and you don't have to be so on guard with me.
Fair enough. I suppose I have been rather rude. I am Mayor of Corel, Jarek Dissel of Giles Kingdom.
Corel was, I heard something about Corel while I was over in Giles. It suffered some sort of tragedy, correct? Is that the same town?
It is, yes, but our rebuilding efforts are going very smoothly. Profits have increased substantially, so we hope to be back on track shortly.
Well, I hope that you have the same energy for the people's well-being as that you have for the profits. But I imagine as a mayor of Giles, that is something that you keep a very avid watch on.
Yes, well, palisades are one of the first order of businesses when rebuilding a town. So, the protection of my people is indeed paramount.
Well, I imagine there is a story there as how a mayor became a bard for a lord and folk, but perhaps I will let you decide when that story is fit to be told.
Well, we have many days of travel, I assure you. If you need something to ring about in your ears, I can provide a few tales.
I will certainly take you up on that offer. I do find it fit to introduce myself to the gathering that we have here. If it is not too much trouble, could you give me the name of the larger individual that you travel with?
Lord Athelvane's bodyguard? Yes. Thor.
And does Thor speak the common tongue?
I think I will leave his interactions to himself, but you will find him agreeable. Do you happen to speak Dwarvish?
I do not speak Dwarvish. That was a problem I ran into as I was moving through the mountains, but perhaps I shall rethink that particular lapse in knowledge.
Well, his common is understandable, if a bit simplistic.
Well, it was a pleasure to meet you, Mayor Jarek of Corel.
Yes, and I will gladly take your assistance as I finish these up. And he kind of waves the papers. And if you should need to relieve yourself, the path through the brush is just over there. Try not to disturb the bear. He is friendly for the most part.
He kind of, as he's about to leave the conversation, nods down to the original letter that you have. He says, if you need help moving that wax seal, that was something that I got rather proficient with when I was a child. So.
Much appreciated.
Just nods your head and turns. You see him turn to face Thor, and he kind of pauses for a moment as his eyes move down to Buffy, and then he appears to think better of it, and then shifts his direction towards Terry, and heads off to talk to him. Is there anything that the... Yep.
Two things for me, actually. I think Jarek would sneak off a little bit past the brush.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as he could figure out that he's alone, go ahead and send his message over to Dover.
Mm-hmm.
Just asking, how's your first day? Is everything okay?
Mm-hmm. So that I don't have to produce the Dover voice again. The message you would get in response is, have you been getting my messages? I've been trying to figure out how this works. Preparing to leave Corel.
Oh, God. I'm not going to burn another spell slot on him, but just, damn it, Dover. Okay. And then once Jarek returns, he's going to use the Crown of Memories.
Okay.
Covertly under the blanket.
Okay. Thinking back to what?
As he was at the Pigeon Keepers, specifically, he's just going to take a look through the crowd and start memorizing faces and outfits.
Okay. Interesting. Of just like the general people going to deliver stuff there?
Yeah, the guy he talked to, maybe a few others that were maybe better dressed, for use later, in case he needs to disguise himself. But he's just going to get a nice general look at the folkish population, so he can better blend in should he need to.
Okay. Yeah, so that's easily enough done. I don't think you need to roll for anything. That's, again, just kind of like taking in information as you get it. So unless there's anything that you guys want to be doing in the evening right before bed, I guess we can take a 10-minute break and pick up in the morning.
I was just going to say that if, every time that, what's his face? Sorry, I can't remember his name.
Florent.
I keep wanting to say Florence. Every time every time Florent looks at me, because I'm always having Carl watch him, I'll just turn around, side eye, or just turn around and look at him.
Okay.
Yep. That's it. That's all.
Okay. But yes, we'll take a quick 10-minute break and then we'll pick back up in the morning. So as everyone's kind of settling in, Thor, you're on watch. Florence kind of talking to Terry, and Jarek, you're finishing up whatever you're working on with the letter, and Valoran's doing Valoran's thing. Jarek and Thor, you would both notice Carl's head glowing with a new, fresh message from Croak.
Thor would definitely notice it first.
So
I'll take the message. I'm on watch.
I think as soon as Jarek would see Thor taking it, without hesitation, throw a detect thoughts his way.
Okay. So, Thor, as you focus in on the message, you are not privy to Jarek's last message, so this might not make the most sense, but that's fine. Message is, town is coming along, Palisade has begun, I didn't jump into bed too high, use the floor instead.
So being the idiot that Thor is, he would obviously be thinking the message, just going through it in his head. So I don't know if that's like surface level thoughts or not.
I'll let you decide what Thor's surface level thoughts are.
It would be whatever you're like actively thinking about.
I guess it wouldn't be like the message, it would just be like, oh no,
So that is what you would gain from your insight, Jarek?
Thor, what the hell? What's going on?
I would
What's
just
going on in the
start speaking in Dwarvish. Well, you see, JD, I would wave JD over.
Thor, you know I can't speak that. What?
JD, I'm keeping up a ruse, okay? I'm whispering, yes. I am trying to not, allow him into our conversations, okay? At least, the ones that I can control. But, so that was from Croak, obviously. He said, actually, what did you say to him? I'm really interested now, because I received a very interesting message.
Yeah, well, I told him to do his job. What about it?
Well, I guess if you count your daughter as a job, mission accomplished.
What do you mean?
Okay, so here's kind of how it went. I'll relay the message to him.
Okay.
Jarek, being of sound body and mind, almost bursts a blood vessel and then attempts to choke Carl.
What?
Out of just rage.
Okay.
I would easily take Carl back from Jarek. You don't get to choke him. Mine.
God, one job. Run the town. Oh,
Apparently
God.
you gave him 2 jobs.
Then, Jarek will spit and start kicking dirt as he heads back to his bedroll.
So I take it you don't want to? Okay.
I'll deal with it in the morning.
Okay. So unless that changes anybody's evening plans, we can sail on through to the next day. Solid. So as the night goes by rather uneventfully, switching off watches however you guys deem necessary, due to being up in the overworld again, traveling through folk. Again, you guys are on the main road of folk, the most traveled highway of this kingdom. So there's pretty consistent foot traffic. There isn't really the fear of being ambushed by bandits or set upon by, ruffians. It's more just, like a bear might stumble upon you, or an insect might crawl on you as you sleep on the ground. So, or the, ever-crushing weight of the political powerhouses, wanting to, squeeze any sort of influence that you have out of you. That's another fear, but not as physically threatening as you're used to. But the night does go by without any sort of interaction from problematic things. And the morning comes back around as you all wake up in this kind of janky grove that Jarek has established around you. It seems that Florent is rather an early riser, very efficient. He's up before most any of you and already packing up his tent and getting it put away on his horse as he is preparing to set off as soon as you all are able.
As Jarek would go to assist Valoran with disassembling his tent and putting it away, and try and have a kind of a hushed conversation of, my lord, how much do we trust him?
No more than we have to. Why?
He offers assistance, but I don't know how much we should, relay to him. I fear he has seen too much of our intentions. Is there any chance he may be working for Solomon?
Any chance? Yeah, of course. But I don't feel compelled to act on these suspicions at this point. He could also be telling the truth. Which, if he is, then his lord's situation must be maybe more dire than even mine.
Well, I'll take his offers of help, but I'll do my best not to reveal too much.
I think that's the right approach for now.
Understood, yes. And then loudly, so in case Florent was anywhere near, just, yes, my lord, that doublet is very nice. And then go back to his duties.
So as Jarek and Valorant break their conversation, you do notice that Florent has struck up a conversation with Rolly, kind of going back and forth with him, kind of trying to more or less get the greetings out of the way with him as everyone else kind of wakes up and goes about their business. But there's nothing that you all... Oh, yes, Thor?
I was just saying Thor would be probably one of the first up, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Just waiting for Lord Athelbane.
So as far as Buffy is concerned with folk and traveling, he'll basically work off of the system. If anyone is approaching you or if anybody is around that isn't in the inner circle at this point, he'll just kind of, fade away, walk off, create some distance, and then come back once the coast is clear, still functioning on that seemingly ever-present knowledge of who is around you and, who should know what and all that fun stuff. So that will kind of be what Buffy is doing during this time. But if there's nothing else that you all need to do this morning or over the next couple days, traveling through folk is going to be a rather mundane event. Still keeping up the general, awareness of setting up camp and keeping watches and things of that nature, either out of habit or just keeping yourself as safe as humanly possible. But the next week or so of traveling is just going to be the repetitive motion of setting up camp, breaking down camp, trudging down the road, stopping every so often so Rolly can dispense his goods, and heading to Crow's Crest Manor. So,
at some point on the day after we left, I would to walk over to, I guess, on Terry's side of the cart,
mm-hmm.
and kind of interrogate him about what Florent, right? Mm-hmm. Sir Florent said to him and what he asked, all in Dwarf.
Okay. We'll go through this real quick. So it says you step up. What exactly is your word choice, sir?
Terry, I have a interesting question for you.
Hopefully it's better than the questions you asked back in Bronshard.
Yeah. Haha, you're so funny. Okay. No, so what I saw the Florent approach you. What did he ask you? I'm just curious.
No, he asked where I came from, what my deal was, I think is the correct term that you would use. More or less trying to get a general understanding of who I am and how I found myself in good company.
I'm assuming you didn't tell him about the hammer, probably.
Nope, I told him that I was simply placed with the group because there is another party interested in your success.
That is fair. Okay. Just trying to make sure. I'm not sure if I trust him, you know? I'm still on the fence. Seems okay, but... Trying not to trust everybody.
Well, shall I take it that you are disclosing this to me, that you are counting me amongst your trusted friends?
You know, Terry, I wouldn't go with trusted, but you are a fond acquaintance of mine that happens to speak Dwarvish and Common, which is weird now that I think about it.
You know what's truly weird when you think about it is 3 years ago you threw me through a door and humiliated me in front of an entire town and then screamed at me, so now we're having a much more civil conversation.
Well, I am very glad that, you know, I threw you into the future because that was 3 days ago, Terry, but you know, it was,
What did I say?
You said years.
Oh my god, I'm an idiot. Sorry, continue. 4 days ago. I'm sorry.
Terry, you know, sometimes when you act like a child, you get treated like a child. And let me just say, children in Boulder School were not treated very well. That was very mild.
So is that why everyone treats you like a child?
Might be why. Or they just, you know, they can't actually beat me up. Except for, you know, when they use a lot of anti-Thor things.
Since we have a better line of communication than we had previously, I did ask Jarek about our intentions and our timeline for acquiring the hammer. He seems dodgy about giving me any sort of direct answer, but seeing as you are the one with the knowledge of its location, I'm curious when we are going to see that done.
You know, Terry, that is a great question that even I don't actually know the answer to. That's why I was kind of shifty about the answer in the beginning, because we obviously have to deal with the stuff with Lord Valorant. That was my plan first, before I almost died. Still my plan. And honestly, I feel like your leader can wait for the hammer. Even though, you know, we have a time limit. I don't really know how he's going to enforce that time limit on me. But do you even know why we need the hammer?
Let's conquer one of those things at a time, Thor. I know you are rather quick-witted, but the way that he is going to enforce his timeline is the reason that I am here.
Uh-huh.
So that answers that question.
No, but like, what are you going to do when that time limit is up? Like, say it's 2 months and 1 minute passed. What happens then?
I don't think that's an outcome that either of us want.
No, but I'm asking you, what is the outcome?
I think that's an outcome that we should avoid.
So you're not giving me a complete answer, and if I've learned anything from JD, that means that it's probably nothing.
You can go ahead and operate under that assumption, but let me throw something your way, Thor, since, again, you are most definitely the most intelligent member of this rather, bumbling party. It's clear that the people of Folk don't really enjoy your presence. I think that is, something we can easily observe. Why don't you and I just go after the hammer and leave the rest of this group to handle their own business?
Because I have a plan, and my plan doesn't involve being without my team.
I don't know if I would describe this group as a team, but if that's how it is, and that's how it is, I thought I would see why that wasn't considered an option.
Also, just rolling up with a dwarf by my side, I don't know how the clan would approach that, even with me vouching for you, because let's just preface this. I'm not the most liked out of my people, which is obviously why I'm not there. So me, an outcast, showing up with somebody who is like, hey, I want that hammer, probably not going to go well.
Well, how about I throw this at you, Thor? Why not lead me there, and then I can use the various tools at my disposal to get the hammer for myself, and then bring it back to Gorn. Because it seems that your team's palate is rather full at the moment.
Even if I told you where they were, you still probably wouldn't be able to find them. Also, you may die along the way.
Alright, I will not push any further. But I thought that it might be a better solution than what we're working with now.
If you would like to go up there yourself and try to find them, I welcome you to it. But it's not as easy as a task as you think. Also, if you get the hammer and then, your leader gets the hammer, then we have a problem, because let's circle back to we still need the hammer for something.
Thor, hopefully this word choice isn't lost on you. Gorn might not end up with the hammer.
Are you saying you're gonna end up with the hammer?
I said no such thing.
Okay. Well, let's say Gorn, doesn't acquire the hammer. Where does this hammer go?
Well, there is a great number of dwarves that would like to own such an artifact if it truly is what you think it is. And there are better options than Gorn out there.
And who would you think this better option to be? Because we tried to put it on Rolly and he said no.
I don't think Halfbeard can be trusted with a piece of straw, let alone an artifact of that caliber, so...
He did become an alcoholic rather fast, and then we had to cure him. That was a big thing.
Yes, and now you put him in charge of dispensing even more ale. It seems that you are all very, sound of mind.
It wasn't my job. But he's doing a great job. He's nice. He's doing his God's thing. He's following his path. He's doing what he's supposed to, as far as I know. I don't know. But anyways, can we circle back to you? Do you even know why we need the hammer?
I don't think anybody in the dwarven race can say for certainty what the hammer may or may not do at this point.
Okay, that's fair. Well, I believe that that it will contribute to preventing the resurrection of a god that is evil? Something like that.
Thorasius, I might recommend to you writing down certain key points of what you are currently trying to achieve. You are talking about the Dark Prince.
Oh yeah, that guy. Wait, why do you know about that guy?
I've been here.
You're like a new Adam. Nah, not really. Adam was special.
Thor, let me lay out the entire point of this conversation so that we may move on. Because it seems that circles are being achieved here. The dwarves might not be destined to end up with the hammer. If I truly believe that the mother wanted your companion to end up with the hammer, then I would certainly do everything in my power to see that through, but I believe that potentially he's a bit misguided. And potentially the chosen children are misguided. So I'm not saying who should end up with the hammer, but I am not of a singular mind, if you catch my meaning.
No, I get what you're saying. I've also had some internal debates with Carl about this, but it is like talking to myself. But yeah, it's a very iffy subject at the current moment as to what will happen. Once it gets closer, obviously we defeat Kustar easily. Then it becomes a very interesting point of order. I'm sure we will discuss it further once we get there. Or, before we get there.
Well, I will just gently remind you that there is a clock ticking.
I am aware, but I do not know how much longer we have.
Alright.
But I'll count on you to be my clock.
I will make sure to let you know.
Also, why do you speak common?
You have a lot of questions, Thor.
You're not giving me a lot of answers.
He, looks around at the rest of the party, kind of glancing over at Jarek, and then kind of glancing over at Valoran, and over at you. Do we really have time for this?
I'll look around as we're, on a 7-day journey. I think I have a lot of time for this, actually, and considering the new guy can't speak Dwarvish, I think we're good. And so JD also can't speak Dwarvish, so you're safe.
Jarek will lean over, since he's now gotten 2 glances, and start speaking Infernal. And just... Yeah, that's how it feels to have you two just chattering. I can't understand you.
JD, oh. Right, he can't understand us. Never mind. I'll turn back to...
Thor, I'll make a deal with you. If you apologize for how you handled Adam's death, I'll tell you why I speak common. Freaking camera's shifted around, goddamn Seth.
Terry, I am sorry that I took my anger out on you. I may have treated the door of that tavern a little too harshly. And throwing you out of said door may have not have been the correct move at that point in time. Emotions were very high strung. But I do apologize for overreacting. But to be fair, I was also getting yelled at, and it made me a little angry, so I was just transferring the anger.
So Thor, from what I gathered, your clan of Goliaths aren't too fond of you. Is that an accurate statement?
I would just touch my face. Yeah, that's a pretty fair assessment.
You see him kind of look down at his gauntlet. He kind of flexes the fingers a little bit, kind of shifting it back and forth in his hand. You and I are not too different then. the group that I guess I am aligned with more or less, if they knew more about me, would not be accepting of me. I tell you this in the strictest of confidence, that you will not go spreading around this particular tidbit of information. But seeing as this journey that I am on with you, could end potentially in my demise, perhaps someone else should know. I'm only half dwarf. I'm also half human. Gorn is my brother, who is gifted enough to be a full dwarf, bearing our family name with honor. And I am the stain, the black sheep. He's done a good enough job hiding my true heritage from the gang that we find ourselves in. But at any point, he could simply reveal that little tidbit of information and my life will cease. And that's why I function as Gorn's lapdog. And I am growing rather tired of it.
Wow. Couldn't you, double-edge sword that, Because, he's been hiding you for all these years, or hiding, that stuff. So, then he's, built his whole thing on, we're all dwarves, we're the best. But then, his man is half dwarf.
I have put forth that option, and he basically said that he would claim having no knowledge, and that discovering my true heritage would be a shock to him.
I don't even understand how that would work. But if it makes you feel better, I am not full Goliath.
You certainly look it.
I mean, just wait till we get to my camp, then you'll see some full Goliaths, because they're about, little taller, little bigger. Even some of the girls, they outclass me. It's very embarrassing. But, yeah, my dad is apparently from here.
Perhaps we share the same father, then.
Does yours look like this? I'll pull out the paper.
He gives it kind of an amused glance and then kind of shakes his head. It's like, I highly doubt that that's true. I do not know what folkish man bred me, but I know that he is from here.
Maybe Buffy is the key to your father, too.
You really are so quick and clever, Thor.
I mean, that was more of a joke. Obviously, Buffy only likes me. But, this is very, interesting. Surprised. Well, I'm kind of not surprised nobody asked you earlier because of the whole, Atom thing. But I appreciate you sharing with me. I've been trying to get to know you, but obviously you've been ignoring all my questions.
I hope you can excuse that I'm not quite used to being friendly with someone of your appearance.
I mean, yeah, I obviously get it, and I'll gesture back to the Sir F.
Florent?
F. Florent, yep. Most people don't like people like me.
Well, who you are, Thor, has certainly changed my opinion on Goliath for the better, whether or not that is a wise thing. But I do want to remind you that I would much rather keep this revelation a secret between us.
Okay, but what about Lord Valorant?
I don't think he likes me all that much, so we shall sustain from informing him.
Okay. For now, I will keep this. But we have to. I suggest you get to. You try to bond with Lord Valorant because he's a very level-minded guy. Obviously, you joke that I am the smartest one, but he is obviously the smartest one out of all of us, and he has the most power.
I don't know. I think Jarek is rather bright.
I'll just laugh and I'll walk. I'll just be like, "Good one, Terry, great one," and I'll just walk off or hop off the car.
So as you leave him be, you would distinctly see him like shift his gaze over to Jarek, and it's not in a way that he's like going to look over at Jarek. It's much more of like an instinctual, like he's going to look for the person beside him, and you see kind of a look of disappointment, and then he just kind of reserves himself to driving the wagon.
Do I see that?
Yeah.
I miss him too. And I'll just keep walking.
Alright. So is there any other fruitful conversations going on the second day of travel? I'm sure Valorant is eager to make some mileage gains. So, well, if there is anything that you all want to do between now and arrival in the actual county that Crow's Crest Manor is in, is Asselin County. If you care to know that information, Daniel,
Can I
don't
get
even.
that correct spelling?
Asselin. We are all adults. We can handle a county named Asselin.
Okay.
Okay. So, but yes, Valorant, if you, like, I know you mentioned having Rolly kind of put forth more of an effort, once you get into, like, his actual lands, so, if that is a thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So, I guess you'd be rather familiar with at least the rough area and then this territory kind of in general. So crossing that border, the whole party gets kind of like a distinct swell of accomplishment, knowing that they have reached their intended target after trudging towards this direction for so long. But as soon as you pass over, Rolly kind of gets with you and makes sure that everything that he's going to do and, all the goods and, various things he wants to pass out are acceptable, and then begins doubling his efforts. Everybody he passes on the road, everybody he, sees like a small hut or a structure, across the field, he is diligently bouncing back and forth, and to each person having very, like, quick and gracious interactions with as many people as he can, making sure that the appearance of Lord Athelvane on this land is very well known and cemented with good vibes. So, but so this would be, we'll say that you're on your 6th day of travel, going into the evening. Tomorrow will be the day that you actually make it to Crow's Crest Manor. Valorant, as far as you are aware, Crow's Crest Manor is kind of like a castle-like structure up on a hill with a small town kind of surrounding it. Basically, the town just functions to serve as, labor and infrastructure for the manor itself. So, it probably has a populace of, 50 to 100 people, somewhere in that range. And that's roughly like what you're heading towards. So, is there anything that you all are doing that evening?
Whereabouts on the...
I'll give it a quick... Actually, I dragged this on here for a reason. You guys are probably, like, there.
Okay. No, nothing right now.
Okay.
Does Sir Florent, does he ever look like he wants to talk to me?
You would see him throughout your travels, kind of like giving you a glance, maybe like mulling over the potential conversation, and then kind of resigning every time he sees Buffy near you, or kind of glances over your physique a couple more times. So it appears he's been trying to maybe build up the gusto to talk to you, but hasn't quite gotten there yet.
Okay. And we're approaching like the nighttime, is that correct? Or like
so we're in the evening of the second to last day of travel.
As in we're like setting up camp.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if I see him glance over my way, I'll have Buffy right here, just chilling, petting. I will call out to him in common. I'll say, Did you want to talk?
So, having kind of like getting near the end of setting up his tent for the evening, having looked your way as kind of like almost a precautionary measure, and then catching your invitation, you see him pause for a moment, kind of give you a curious look, and then nodding a little bit, setting down what he was currently working on and closing the distance. Eventually kind of stepping up in front of you, still holding that standing tall, very strong demeanor that he's been kind of using this entire trip. I've heard that your name is Thor. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was that name given to you?
It's a shortened name.
I am surprised that you speak common. I was told that your common was acceptable, but not great.
Well, in the accordance of Lord Athelbane, I wouldn't call it perfect English. Or common. Shit.
Well, 3 years ago when I met you, I don't quite know how to handle this situation. It's I don't know how aware you are of the traditions of the country that you currently travel in, but speaking to a Goliath is not a common occurrence in folk, so I'm a little bit on the back foot.
I mean, is there something you need to ask me? Something you want to know about me? Where I came from?
Oh, it sounds like you're offering up that information, and I certainly won't decline it.
I'm not offering it. You have to pick and choose. You get 3 questions.
That seems rather arbitrary.
I learned it in a story I heard when I was younger.
How about I'll make you a deal?
What is it with people and deals?
You give me 10 questions over a week's time.
Now, is that like a per day basis?
It will be at my discretion when I can use them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's see, what should be a good one to start?
Choose wisely. Not like scratch by.
Do you trust the Lord that you serve?
Undoubtedly.
Simple enough. I'll think of my next question and I will get back with you, Thor.
You only have 9 left.
I hope that you can keep count.
Me too.
So, finishing off this conversation, Florent would direct his attention to you, Valorant, kind of coming up to you in whatever activity you're currently entangled with. Lord Athelvane, I've spoken with all of your companions, and it is a rather diverse group that you find yourself traveling with.
That's true.
I find them all slightly endearing in their own way. I imagine that's why they travel with you.
Slightly endearing is reasonably accurate.
So I know that tomorrow is the day that we will finally reach, I guess, your destination, and then, by my job, also my destination. Is there a particular task, job, goal that I shall have from you, my lord?
Well, Lord Salamon's strength, or one of several, is what I can only assume is his vast knowledge. I just need to know everything.
So a simple task, I see.
You asked.
That I did, and I pardon that was an incorrect way of addressing you, my lord. It was just a small jest, but yes, I can certainly put my mind to the task and see what I can scrounge up.
I hope to be impressed.
There are very little people that I have served that have not been impressed with my abilities.
I'll look forward to it.
Well, then I guess I shall depart our group for now. I shall ride ahead. I do find myself functioning better alone, so I shall go and plant myself in the festivities and come back to you with whatever I find.
We'll see you there.
Have a good evening, my lord, and I wish you the best in the days to come.
Good evening.
I think Jarek would utilize him to finalize the forgery before he leaves. That is possible.
Okay. So as he's setting up, or taking down his tent at this point, having it about halfway constructed, shifting over to you, I'm assuming, coming up to him with the two letters for assistance moving the wax seal. You go,
yeah.
Yes. Certainly, I can make that happen. And he would take them from you, and you'd see him kind of like set up a small working area, pull out like a knife and a candle, and starting to work off a little bit of heat from the wax and transferring it over. It appears that he is rather proficient at this and has done it a fair few times. As he is transferring it over, kind of keeping a casual conversation going, he, looks over at you. Jarek, may I recommend that you be on your best behavior for Lord Athelvane. If you go riding up to Crow's Crest Manor with your ass hanging out of the wagon, it probably won't go all that well.
I assure you, high society has certain expectations, and I'm perfectly willing to meet them.
Well, I hope for your lord's sake that you truly mean that statement.
It has been impressed upon me that such vagrant disregard for social proprieties can only end up in a very short drop and a quick stop. So I assure you, it is all that is on my mind.
You have such a way with words. Perhaps that's why you are an entertainer.
Hopefully soon.
So he finishes transferring the seal, kind of gives it a quick glance to make sure that he is approving of his work, and then passes it on to you.
Thank you so much. I will remember such kindness and hope to return it back.
You have something, Thor?
I do. So I imagine that either after Valorant's conversation with Sir Florent, or during this interaction, Thor would come over to Sir Florent.
Okay.
Sir, I have an amendment to the deal.
All right, Thor.
For every question you ask me, I get a question.
That seems acceptable. Do you have one in mind?
No, I'm banking it for now. Don't people teach you to save? Then I'll walk away.
All right. And then he would finish packing up his tent, load up his horse, kind of give you all a quick head nod, and depart into the night.
Jarek would approach Valoran once Sir Florent is off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that we're alone, Valoran, quick question. How well do you remember Solomon's face, his body, his overall look?
Well enough, I suppose.
I'm just wondering if it would benefit us to maybe be able to make him appear to be somewhere or doing something at a particular time. I can disguise myself to look like him.
I can certainly see the usefulness in that, but I expect you'll see him yourself tomorrow.
Yes. True, but as they say, practice makes perfect.
I'll describe him to you so you know him when you see him, to the best of my ability.
Yes, that would be perfect. And Jarek would pull out quill and paper to kind of draw, as Valoran describes. And then practice disguise self until he kind of gets it to the best of Valoran's memory.
Mm-hmm. So, tonight is August 5th. Tomorrow will be the morning of August 6th. The battle reenactment is going to be on the 10th. So there's going to be, 4 days basically from when you arrive to when the actual celebration takes place. So I don't know what the plan is or the approach or whatever, so that might be a good time to establish what the plan is going forward.
Well, I think, like I said before, we want Jarek ideally to see what information he can get out of the servants for a start, but really anybody that makes an opportune target. And Rolly to start figuring out how to get his hands on the late wife.
Okay. So are you splitting up this evening and moving forward separately, or are you going all together? I'm just trying to figure out what the next leg of this is going to look like.
I'm open to recommendations on that. I think I assumed that we would ride in together, but
I'm obviously sticking with wherever Valorant is going to be.
Yeah. We've
and-
been seen together by Salomon's people already.
It may not be a bad idea for Jarek to go ahead.
Okay.
And see if he can worm his way into the good graces of maybe the castle staff. Yeah.
Let's have that invitation, and then Rolly can come in with us, so that because otherwise they'll probably get stopped by yet another guy that wants to know what's your business here? What's your business here? What's your business here? So he'll need a way in, but once we're in, he can't be seen hunting for the body anyway. So
Okay.
Should he go with me then as my retainer?
sure.
And that'll give him 5 days worth of time to kind of get his stuff done.
So Rolly and Jarek are going ahead, and Thor and Valorant and Terry are going in together.
Yes, I believe that's the plan.
Okay.
I'd also like to attempt to make Terry pet Buffy at some point.
Okay. So, what is the difference in approach? Like, is Jarek and Rolly leaving in the morning? Or are they leaving a day before? Like, what's the time frame?
I think Jarek and Rolly would head out before first light of the next day. Get kind of set off around 4 in the morning so they can get a little bit more of a head start.
Mhm.
Arriving separately, maybe making a little more haste, riding their horses a little bit harder than the rest of the group.
Mhm.
Because you said we have about a day of travel before we get to the...
It'd be about a half day's travel. Is like
Half
the
day.
last stint you got to do.
Yeah, then try to get to the castle before noon.
Okay. And then the rest of the party would just arrive midday, evening, night, next day. What's the plan there?
Midday, I think, is a good plan as any. Riding in almost as though the party is for me.
Okay.
Just
I would-
beaming and waving, and when we find a good stopping point, since Rolly isn't with us anymore, handing what's left of the goodies off the wagon myself.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to kind of figure out, where the best place to kind of land the end of this is, so that we're not progressing into the meat of the next thing without Rolly.
Damn it, Rolly.
I would say that like Seth or JD, if you wanted to send us a message to let us know when you're there, like when you get there, or like, just send messages to us to update us on what's going on, that might be useful.
You're muted.
I was trying to figure it out.
My thought process there was Jarek and Rolly will arrive, invitation in hand,
Mhm.
here for the party.
Shall I
Find
don't know if this-
accommodations in the castle there with, and then nose about for information for the first hour.
If that is your plan, and I imagine that would be common knowledge for the group, it would be very strange and potentially rude to show up for a party 5 days early, if that is the approach that you're going with. So,
Show up to the town in that case,
mhm.
and That would make more sense, yeah. So show up to the town, see if I can find out anything about the entertainment then that's going to be held. If I could figure out like who's providing the entertainment, if it's a local group, if it's just random people that are there, and kind of getting good with them.
Okay. So you were going to kind of like the town below Crow's Crest Manor and seeking information instead of going to the manor itself.
Yes, there we go.
Okay. Go ahead and give me, I guess, I'm always like half and half on when you're like parsing people for information. If that's an investigation check or like a persuasion check or like a general charisma check, because it could be used in various different ways.
Well, let me throw this one at you. In typical Jarek fashion, he would hit up a tavern and try and perform to increase the crowd's pliability, and then schmooze people about,
So let's go ahead and do a performance and then an investigation. And to help describe the Jesus Christ. To help describe the situation that you were going into. The town beneath Crow's Crest Manor isn't like a vibrant town. It is really just a cluster of individuals that kind of reside outside of the manor to do various tasks. So there is like a watering hole, basically. The general vibe of it would be like an old barn that's been converted into a gathering place that they kind of serve as a tavern/bar kind of thing. So you would basically be like, rubbing shoulders with the help, with the farmers and the, gardeners and whatnot that upkeep the actual, manor. So that's what you're going into. You're not going into like, Belly Jesus Bar and Tavern. So.
After giving a stunning performance, does that make them extra pliable for information?
Well, why don't you roll me an investigation check and we'll find out.
Would that be like with advantage?
No, just roll me an investigation check. God damn it. Okay. Okay. So as you come into the, I guess town is going to be the right way to use it, and you avoid actually approaching the manor itself, the scene that you see is there's kind of like a gradual hill in this large plains, basically, that like slowly kind of grows higher and higher, and at the peak of it is this rather elegant and immense mini palace, basically. Again, that very distinct Gothic medieval architecture that you had grown used to in Vilstein and relate with like the folkish culture now is very prevalent with this building. There's tall, like harshly peaked towers like reaching up into the sky. It's very dark stonework with lots of ornate and what's the word I'm looking for? Dense decorations and statues and various, accent pieces on these giant works of art. Art being a rather loose term, but it is a sight to behold, and it clearly indicates at least the wealth of the person that lives inside and the kind of means that they have to live by. And then beneath the hill, where between the manor itself and the town that kind of feeds it, basically, there is a variety of gardens and fountains and orchards and various, pleasant nature structures that kind of create a rather distant void between the common folk and the people atop the hill. So having the backdrop of this massive palace, mini palace, I guess I should say, you approach the town, which is more or less, a structure of buildings where basically all of them serve some sort of utility purpose, as long as with also serving as the like residential portion for whatever, occupation, cobbler, farmer, gardener, cook that lives there. Seeking out that one barn that is more or less the gathering point for the help. You find it rather sparsely packed at this point, being, early morning and a week leading up to a big party. There isn't a lot of milling about, but there's a couple people kind of there as you enter in and introduce yourself and put on a bit of a performance. It's clear that the help around here isn't, accustomed to being played for or having some sort of, culturally different performance to kind of enjoy. And so you grab a great deal of attention for the various people that are there, having them cling to every note, every word, every point of your song or your ballad as you go through it, and being very curious as to like who you are and where you came from and points of the song, and kind of offering up bits and pieces of information of their own as like a conversation kind of goes back and forth. Things that would catch your attention, I guess. I'll give you kind of a rough list of points that you would be made aware of. The actual, what should I call them? Performers for the reenactment are half-orc slaves that are planned to be genuinely dispatched during the reenactment. They've been brought in to basically serve as the brutish, orcish warriors that were defeated in the battle 50 years ago, and their lives are going to be snuffed out for the entertainment of folkish nobility. So that is one kind of tidbit that catches your attention. They've arrived, several days ago, being prepared for, what's to come. They're stored in kind of more or less a giant tent, kind of outside of the town, a fair distance from the manor itself, to kind of make sure it doesn't detract from the appearance of the manor. Besides that, you hear various gripes about the amount of food that has to be prepped and the shortages and the cooks being kind of run ragged. Lots of them being punished severely for attempting to rest at a relatively acceptable time frame and then being pushed further. So there's, general grumblings and whatnot there. There's also the lingering discussions of the wedding that has been kind of hanging over the attention of the common folk there. From what you can understand, having been prepared for a wedding to take place for some time and kind of unsure why their lord hasn't married his bride yet, kind of waiting for that celebration to kick off as well, because that's going to be, a large event that they're going to have to, build up as well. So those would be kind of the three main points that would stick out to you, I suppose. So.
Okay, so the half-orc slaves are planned to be actually killed during the reenactment, and they're stored in a tent outside of town. Grumblings from the cooks because there's so much food to be prepped, but there's a shortage, and the cooks are being overworked and punished. And then there was all these preparations for a wedding, but the Lord's not actually proceeding.
One quick bit of information that I totally forgot, which is rather important, because you rolled so high. Lord Solomon is going to participate in the reenactment as his uncle.
Gotcha. Ooh. Okay. After Jarek's performance and plying the people for information, he would send a message outside, away from people. Send a message to Valoran. Real slaves for reenactment to be killed. Shortage of food. Everyone wondering about wedding. Solomon will participate in reenactment. Maybe can be killed during it. So I think it has a 25 limit.
And then Valorant can reply to that if need be, right?
If desired.
Excellent work. Noted. Keep it up.
Okay, I just won't count then, I guess.
Okay. Yes. I guess. And seek lodging. Is there any lodging to be had?
You'd be kind of like paying to crash in someone else's home, which is a rather accepted, I guess, norm amongst like commoners and folk. So that would be roughly what you'd be looking at.
Can I find someone with a bunch of kids and just offer to play a bunch of like entertainment songs for their kids in order to stay for free?
We can see if we can figure that out.
Okay.
Valorant/James, let me throw this your way. Do you want to save Valorant's entrance for next session when we have everyone here to kind of react to it?
Hell no, I don't.
Okay. So I guess we'll go through that now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, describe to me what the plan is, and then I'll see how that goes.
So we're just going to ride into town, like I said, like a tiny parade, and I'm going to be just beaming, smiling, prince waving, and when we get to kind of the center of town, I'm going to do the Santa Claus routine and hand out the rest of what we've got on the wagon. And that's all that's going to be necessary, I think.
Necessary as in that's where you want to stop, or as in the plan?
Necessary as in it's not going to be long after that before he plays his next card and he's going to find me.
Okay. So, Thor, I guess I can assume that you are just flanking Valorant during this whole time, and Rolly is dispensing the goods.
Yeah, I would basically be like, whatever.
There's no rope.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Whatever mannerism like Valorant wants me to uphold, whether it be a smile or if he wants me to throw things at people or like hand it out. What?
No, continue.
Then I would do whatever he tells me to do. Or if he just wants me to stay on my horse and look intimidating, I can do that too.
I think just be Valorant's satellite for now.
Okay.
And whenever we are in Salamon's presence personally, and Valorant's described him to you too, he's described him to everybody at this point. He wants you to be ready to grab that black linen flower arrangement and be ready to present it. But that doesn't need to happen until we actually cross paths with him, which may not, I doubt he's going to come down personally to come and get us, but just so you have a heads up.
Yep, I'll hold my action.
Actually, to assist Valoran in his distribution, I think Jarek would join the crowd as, they're getting stuff from him, and loudly call out, "Oh my lord, so generous, yes! This food!" And he'd, take whatever food and then turn around to someone that he had, talked to, talking about a shortage of food, and be like, "What a generous lord here! Is it not impressive?" And really just try and help boost their emotions as he could. and help kind of play into that.
Okay. Let's make a thing of this. How about everyone throw me performance with advantage?
You want me to do that as well?
Mm-hmm. God damn.
I ride in and I get Belgrease to kind of rear up, right? As I'm waving.
Hair flowing in the wind.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thor, you are hitting right where you should.
I mean, I'm not performing much. I'm just like...
So, as Valoran, Thor, and Terry make their way to Crow's Crest Manor, seeing that same vision that Jarek and Rolly were met with as they approached, Valoran, you are filled with this sense of, I don't know, excitement, of, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like a conquering mentality as you approach this town at the base of the hill. All eyes on you as you bring in this 3-man parade. And even though Thor is basically just kind of functioning behind you and Terry is very much reserving himself from the situation, the combined efforts of your natural charisma and Jarek's seemingly unending gifts of hyping up the common people, it creates a perfect storm of excitement as basically kind of the small town square just before the gate that leads a winding path up to the manor is filled with cries of excitement, of joy, of praise, of gratitude, as gifts are being handed out, conversations and comments are being said. It creates a disturbance, a joyful disturbance that absolutely nobody can avoid. The entire populace that has been rather overburdened by Lord Solomon is now partaking in this welcomed relief. As this continues for, I don't know, maybe about 5 or 10 minutes, this little gathering goes on. You see, it's maybe about like 3 or 4 stories up the structure, the main structure of the manor. You see a pair of French doors open up wide onto the stone balcony that overhangs the front of the building. And it's quite a distance, but kind of putting 2 and 2 together and relying on the information that you have, you see the familiar sight of Lord Solomon stepping out onto his balcony. You see him dressed very finely and proper. He's rather thin and slender man with black hair slicked back, a thin mustache kind of covering his lips. Even from here, you feel his distinctly kind of cold and emotionless gaze grazing across the small gap between you two as he looks over the event going on beneath him, kind of just resting his fingers interlaced with each other and gently resting them on the kind of waist-high balcony in front of him. You see his head tilt ever so slightly to the side as he just takes in your sudden appearance. There's another few minutes or whatnot, moments that go by before you just hear the distant, rhythmic, small clapping noise, a very kind of pompous, almost light-hearted, but most definitely a jab of some sort, as this very distant, consistent clapping kind of drifts down the hill towards you, and then he gently rests his hands down on the little balcony again before you see another figure coming from the main doors of the manor and making their way down the hill. The new individual appears to be a half-orc servant. He's dressed in a very nice black, well-fitted gown, with like a white tuft of linen kind of poking out of the collar, kind of making his chest almost like appear more puffed out and pronounced. He is like stood stock straight tall. His tusks are like ground down to almost like nubs instead of the more prominent, like sharp points that they usually are in. And he makes his way down the kind of mossy covered cobble pathway and through the gate before he approaches your horse, or where you're functioning, kind of parting the crowd that is gathered around you, and you see him just stop and silently look up at you and wait for you to finish whatever event you are currently embroiled in.
So I think, like you said, just approaching town with anticipation and determination and whatever else might be going on, Valoran is home. And greeting the crowd, climbing onto the wagon and handing out these things, and really being quite boisterous. And yes, it's a celebration. Everyone should enjoy. Here, this is for you, for you. And feeling Salamon's presence, I turn directly to him and look right at him, and just beam and wave like it's my old friend I haven't seen in so long. What a joy. Just waving in the midst of the crowd, handing another blanket off the back and waving again. Just, hello, my friend. I'll take this opportunity while I'm in the wagon to find those 500 gold coins and just secure them on my person.
Mm-hmm.
And when all of the stuff that we bought, the very last of the stuff that we bought for this purpose is gone and off the wagon, I will let the crowd know that the giveaway is ended, and thank you, one and all, for such a warm welcome back to my homeland, and sort of give them the signal to go about their day.
But before the crowd disperses, Jarek would call out, My lord, who are you, that you are so generous?
I'm Lord Athelvane, Count of Capelmont, my good man.
Hail to Lord Athelvane. Thank you. See if I can maybe get a small cheer going.
Yeah, as you incite the crowd to cheer, there'd be a couple like, praise be, yes, Lord Athelvane! But as it's beginning to kind of swell, as the half-orc servant kind of enters the ring, their cries kind of dim. You see a couple of their eyes kind of darting up to Lord Solomon up at his little balcony perch, and their cries quickly fail, and then everyone decides to disperse.
And I'll take Belgre's reins again, and just sort of await what this servant has for me.
So, kind of seeing that you have ended your showcase and are now, kind of more or less addressing him, he gives you a very polite head bow. Lord Athelvane, Lord Solomon would like to see you up at the manor, if you would be so inclined.
Of course. You'll have someone see to the wagon, won't you?
Of course. Crow's Crest Manor is full of people that would love to beckon at every desire that you may have.
I would expect no less. Come along, Thor.
You see him kind of look over at Thor, then look down at you. He goes, Lord Athelvane, I'm sure that you are aware we do not let animals inside of Crow's Crest Manor.
He's a service animal.
You see him kind of like turn around and look up at Lord Solomon up at his perch. You see him kind of like give a slight shrug of his shoulders. I cannot speak today. And then Lord Solomon just kind of pushes his hands forward, gives a slight nod, and the servant turns back around. I guess I'll go get the kibble then.
At that remark, I'll sort of narrow my eyes. My smile will fade just a little, but I will choose to let it pass. But I want him to see me do that.
Okay.
But then at that point, turn back to Thor and say, "Don't forget, Thor, the arrangement, if you please." And I will also make sure to get my gift basket for my family off the wagon.
Okay. So the servant would then turn around, leading you all through the gate. Up the cobble pathway near the end, there's also a nice, kind of elegant, elaborate, large main door to the manor itself. Either side of that is, I guess, armed with house guards. They're dressed more, I don't know, for show than any sort of actual defense. Like, they don't wear any armor. It's more or less just kind of like light gambesons. Gambesons? Jesus, I can't speak today. Prominently showcasing the sigil of House Solomon. They seem to almost reflect the kind of icy cold demeanor of their lord. They don't crack a smile. They don't shift their gaze. They almost appear to be statues, as I guess just Valoran and Thor are the two being led up the path at this point. But they open the doors for you almost robotically as the doors swing open. And as you do so, I think this is a fitting part to end the session at.